I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
The ultimate manifestation of the truth of failure rule number 2, nothing is safe, is your death. And it will visit you at its mysterious convenience, not your thoughtful appointment. So seize abundant living as much as is possible before it shows up. A little over a year ago, when I was approaching my 47th birthday, I really began to think about the years that I have left. I knew that time was not my friend. So my internal spirit voice loudly urged me to get busy living and fulfill the visible next steps of my calling journey with haste. In 2013, geopolitical thriller author Vince Flynn died after years of battling prostate cancer. He was only 47 years old. While his family and his readers would have wished he had more years in his life, Vince certainly packed a lot of life into his 47 years on this planet. Vince's origin story reveals a man who understood that time was not his friend. He was busy living right up until his untimely death. Vince was quoted around that time as saying, "If you're not busy living, you're dying." Now, Vince left college armed with a degree in economics and found himself immersed in macaroni and cheese. He became a marketing strategist for Kraft General Foods. But mac and cheese wasn't really something that was going to fill Vince's meaning bucket for the long term. In accordance with his internal spirit voice, Vince left Kraft in 1990 to accept an aviation candidate slot with the U.S. Marine Corps. Vince had always been attracted to a life in the military. But as it turned out, Vince's interlude into military life was just a detour that routed him instead to his ultimate calling journey fulfillment. His military ambition failed when he was medically disqualified as a result of several concussions and seizures that he suffered as a kid. But Vince didn't let the failure of being disqualified derail him from digging deep and pursuing his calling journey. He understood failure rule number 2, nothing is safe. His military dream was not safe, but his failure mutated into an adjacent dream. That dream was to become a full-time fiction writer of geopolitical spy thrillers. It was adjacent because the story that was bubbling up in his mind's eye involved an ex-Marine turned CIA agent who he eventually went on to name Mitch Rapp. Vince wasn't going to become a Marine, but he was going to perpetuate that spirit in the hearts of his readers. Vince's writing dream was an unusual and unexpected one. It did not seem suitable because he had struggled his whole life with reading and writing because he has dyslexia. But while Vince felt as if he was born to lose with dyslexia, he still chose to live to win and overcome his conditioned limitations. Still licking his wounds after his disqualification from the Marines, Vince took on the burden of the ordinary 9-to-5 grind. He began working for a commercial real estate company in his hometown of Minneapolis. Vince used the day job for some stability as he leveraged his spare time to shape his ideas for his first novel. Vince knew the utility of failure rule number 4, build your thing 1 and thing 2 dependency. Vince held down the 9-to-5 job for 2 years until fully embracing the dangerous promptings of his internal spirit voice. Vince quit his job, moved to Colorado, and worked full-time on the novel we now know as Term Limits. This period was not an easy and open success path for Vince. There was no early indications that his Thing 2 dream of writing full-time was going to work out. But creation is its own reward first. The external rewards that creation produces often come much later, if they come at all. For Vince, it took 5 years of writing all day and bartending all night before the fruit of his writing labor materialized. After more than 60 rejection letters, Vince bypassed the literary gatekeepers, chose himself, and self-published his first novel, Term Limits. The book shot to #1 in his hometown, Minneapolis. Within just a week, Vince landed a new agent and a 2-book deal with Pocket Books, the Simon & Schuster imprint. From the time that Vince inked his deal with Pocket Books up until his untimely death, he was busy living and writing. He released 14 best-selling novels around the Mitch Rapp story. His book, American Assassin, was adapted to a film starring Michael Keaton and Dylan O'Brien. He consulted on the storylines of the TV show 24 featuring Kiefer Sutherland. Vince's story was one that inspired me to vigorously pursue writing my spy novels, starting with Blaze, Operation Persian Trinity. Vince's perseverance through failures spoke to me. He overcame being disqualified from the Marines, outwilled the limitations of his dyslexia, and ignored the negativity of publisher rejections. Disqualified, dyslexic, and rejected, Vince leveraged his failures into success and proved that after it sucks, failure rules. So how might Vince's story inspire you right now to engage with whatever version of failure you are contending with? What are the failures you are confronting right now? Are you allowing these failures to have too much power over your unfolding story? How can you leverage your current failures, like Vince did, to swerve more succinctly into the organic current of your calling journey? How can you get your power back from your failures? Knowing time is not your friend. How can you get busy living and ensure you have the highest amount of life in your years? How can you own your time with authentic fullness and use it in alignment with your calling journey? Are you living each day with the message of Memento Mori? Remember that you must die, driving each decision you make so that you maximize your time as you live in the flesh. Decide right now to orient your priorities so that one day when someone asks about you, whatever happened to him or whatever happened to her, the answer will instead explain what happened to the world because of him or because of her. Don't let things just happen to you. Be intentional in your calling journey alignment quest. Make things happen to the world. When I was approaching my 47th birthday and reflecting on Vince's death at that same age, these are the questions I asked myself. So think of Vince and ask yourself the same questions. The nature of your answers may be as important as the difference between an obituary that highlights selling macaroni and cheese versus one that champions a career as a best-selling author. Time is not your friend, so get busy living to the fullest and remember that you must die. Get busy living or know that you are dying.